Well, hello. Yep. Let's try and get you down here. There you go. Well, I'm going to start with the Stefan video. Personally, I love that video. I thought it was cool how he talked about, as musicians, we're not necessarily we're not necessarily musicians. We're just someone who has the knack for music, and I think that kind of fits with kind of who I am, because I don't necessarily want to be a music minister or anything like that, but I do have a knack for music, and that's kind of my niche, and that's kind of something I can do, and I want to use it. Also, like how he said, that music kind of, it shows what's currently going on in the world. And I think that's true as well, as we develop new ideas and develop new things, the music should develop with it. And I wish Christian music did a better job of that. As for the other video that we watched, the 10 hours or however long, or 20 hours, I agree that I think if you wanted to just learn something quickly, yeah, you can do it in a quick amount of time. But obviously, for those of us who are in music in college, you realize that you don't just want to learn, you don't just want to learn. You can learn that pretty quickly. You can learn different versions of that. You can learn. You can learn that without much trouble. In a short amount of time. Oh, can't move that down any. However, if you actually want to learn an instrument for learning the instrument's sake, yeah, you got to do a little bit more. You got to put a little bit more into it. But I guess if you wanted to learn Jingle Bells. Yeah, I guess you could take 10 hours to do that. So I agree with the principle. It's just I personally don't like to do things that quickly. So now, enclosures. So I guess our next major topic. I'm going to try and show you the bass guitar here, if I can, without dropping all my music. Okay. So with enclosures, for a bass player, enclosures are kind of different and weird, if you will, because I went into my lesson and I actually talked with Young about this, and he was just like, enclosures, yeah, you can use them, but for a bass player, especially when let's say you're just walking up a line, or whatever, that's a lot of time and space. With a lot of non-chord tones to use an enclosure. Now, for a jazz solo, yeah, feel free. But in the normal bass part, in the normal walking part, to go or whatever, like that. And that was kind of the enclosure that he taught me. It's just not as useful. It's not worth what it can do, if that makes sense. So, but one of the things that he did say is when you're doing scales, when you have a lot of time on a scale, when you're just working arpeggios, they're really good. And then you go. So it's an F major triad. That was its notes enclosed. So you go. that would be kind of how he'd say to use the enclosure, and I agree with that. I think in a solo, you might be able to work it in, but in a regular, just walking, I mean, you can't go. Right? It doesn't work. It doesn't swing well. Yeah, it's just for a bass player, it's really only going to be used in the solo when you're thinking about it, when you need it. Especially because there's so many more cool things you can do on a bass. No offense to pianos, but it's just cooler. So, sorry. Last thing, Autumn Leaves. I'm just going to play it for you. I have it in B flat here. I'm just going to try and walk a little bit. I don't know, really haven't practiced it that much, so we'll see how this goes. Cool, and I will not use an enclosure, sadly. Okay, that was a little bit of it. That was one run through. Not perfect, I know. But that would be just an easy way to walk it. I mean, yeah. And not too crazy. I hadn't really looked at that one, but I think one of the things that I probably could have done better is those A diminished chords. Probably could have hit some notes that would have been a little more effective in showing the chord, and maybe the diminished fifth probably could have worked better. So that would be that would have been really cool. So I'd been like at the bridge, I would have done something like this. So that would have been a little more effective. The F chord, I could have gone the F7, gotten you the 7th there. D7 flat 9, could have thrown in. But either way, that was the walking line, and I don't know, for this class, I learned a lot. I think one of the interesting parts for this class was the different perspectives on jazz from the students, seeing where everybody was kind of at, and obviously being the only bass player was A, normal, and B, interesting. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to just kind of play around with some jazz stuff and look at it and learn some jazz history, because I don't necessarily know jazz history. So yeah. There you go.